Marriage myth number 6. Marriage is a piece of cake if you marry the right person. Well, we have this perception that if you have the right person, everything is going to fall in place, inshallah ta'ala. He or she is going to be the right person for you, so you'll never have any kind of arguments. There is no much hard work needs to be done. So basically, you eventually will be gifted the successful marriage simply because you married the right person. Now, that kind of perception makes us a kind of lazy on taking action and even taking our part into that relationship. Marrying the right person is definitely a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that doesn't mean that we just start falling short on fulfilling our own obligations towards our spouse. Indeed, it's the right thing to do to find that right person, but that doesn't warrant you successful marriage. You have to earn it, which means you have to work so hard on making that relationship very successful. You can find that specifically with older couples who have been married together for so many years, and when you ask them about the secret behind this long partnership or relationship, they usually speak proudly of the relationship as something that they have earned. Why? Because they have done so much, they have put so much hard work into the relationship to make it that successful. Marriage myth number 7. Marriage benefits men more than women. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً, that men have a degree higher than women. This ayah was misinterpreted by so many people in reality and in marriages. They think that the matter of having a higher degree, that's in rights, and they forget that also with rights comes responsibility. So the way they have a higher degree in rights, they also get a higher degree in responsibility. And definitely with every single right that was given to men, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided them with an obligation that they need to take care of for their spouse and for women. Now, cultural practices unfortunately distorted the image of rights and obligations, and there's a huge debate on what is for men and what is for women, all based on culture, not necessarily what Islam has guaranteed for both men and women. Reality of marriage speaks differently. Man is the head of the house, that is true, but the woman can be the neck, which means she can be the manager and direct the affairs of the family the way she wishes. Even the Prophet ﷺ expressed that as one of the brightest skills, and that skill is twisting the mind of the most resolved man, as the Prophet ﷺ said. It's a matter of skill. If they know how to press the right button, they can definitely take more and benefit more in their relationship than the man would do. Marriage myth number 8. Love is enough to sustain a marriage. People who think of love as a sentiment, feelings, something that you express towards the other person, they don't realize that marriage is an action. Things has to be taken in consideration when it comes to sustain a relationship. So because they love each other, because I love her, she loves me, and so there's nothing really need to be done, and we don't need any kind of training, we don't need any kind of experience, we don't need any kind of resources, we don't need nothing, because we love each other and we're definitely going to sustain that relationship on these sentiments and these feelings. And the most common books on marriage therapy, they speak of theories on how we should really translate marriage into action, like saying marriage is just like a bank account. When you get married or when you start a relationship, you basically open an account with the other party. Now you need to invest and keep balance all the time. So you do things that is translated into loving actions, and in return you would expect also as well from the other party to respond by investing with you. The more we do, the higher our stocks will be into the relationship. So it's not just about being in love with the person and just feeling in love with the person. It's what exactly we're doing in order to sustain this relationship on a practical level. Marriage myth number 9. Religious Muslims have perfect marriages. Now this is one of the most common myths about marriage, specifically among practicing Muslims. We believe, or they believe, that if we're alhamdulillah religious, then everything will be okay, everything is going to be perfect, we are not going to do anything wrong to each other. They forget that they're human beings after all. And being a human being, we're all subject to errors. We have our own weaknesses, we have our own deficiencies, and we have our own biases even. And even sometimes, which is the most problematic in this case, we have our own interpretations of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So we think that we're taking the right action based on some kind of textual evidence. And we always justify our weaknesses, our problems, our even wrong actions into the relationship with some kind of interpretation of these texts and these ayat and the ahadith. And this is one of actually the most dangerous aspects of a relationship, to have some kind of religious background and having religious interpretation, wrongly of course, to some of our own wrong actions. Religious Muslims, religious people are like anybody, they are like anybody else. They still need some training, they still need some kind of understanding, they still even need to understand themselves as human beings before being religious people. So religious people can have a perfect marriage, that's for sure, if they take the right action into the relationship. Marriage myth number 10. Marriage is a natural process that you can figure out on your own. One of our ultimate goals as individuals is to be very successful in everything in our lives. So therefore, we try, when it comes to education, we try to look for the best school. When it comes to career, we like to go for the best job. When it comes to even building our own body and so on, we go to the best diet, we go to the best gym, we go to everything. We try to achieve the ultimate goal by going to the best possible training that we can get in our lives. When it comes to marriage, somehow people think truly that it's a natural process that does not require from you any kind of specific training because you can figure it out on your own. For the past few years, I've been dealing with couples, talking about religious couples, young men and women, who are very practicing, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. And when it comes to their deen, they're so wonderful. When it comes to their akhlaq, they're great. But unfortunately, when it comes to their marital relationship, they go through lots of hardships because they were not trained to take the right course of action into the relationship. Therefore, premarital training is one of the keys to a successful marriage because we believe the best Muslim is the most resourceful person. And our deen is based on knowledge. Our deen is based on practice. You learn something, you put it into practice. You learn something, you don't practice that, it will go away. And if you try to practice things without the proper knowledge, you're definitely going to do the wrong thing. And without having the proper knowledge, the right practice, you might not have that guarantee for a successful relationship. Now that you know all of this, you have two choices. Do nothing or take an action. If you take an action, then you will avoid displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, disappointment, and divorce. The worst nightmare for young couples. And by taking action, you will achieve, inshaAllah, an outstanding marriage, marital satisfaction, and ultimately Jannatul Firdaus.